This city once fed an entire nation. Here, people built things the country needed to keep moving forward. Work meant stability, and stability meant a future. People didn't come here to dream, they came here to build a life. Factories never slept, and the city lived by their rhythm. Once, it was one of the strongest cities in America. Today, it stands as a symbol of collapse. This city is Detroit. Detroit didn't rise because of luck or coincidence. Its growth followed a clear and logical path shaped by geography, industry, and ambition. Located between the Great Lakes, the city had access to one of the most important inland water systems in the world. Raw materials flowed in, finished products flowed out. Steel, coal, iron ore, everything needed for mass production passed through this corridor. Long before cars defined Detroit, it was already positioned to become a center of heavy industry. By the late 19th century, Detroit was growing steadily, but nothing hinted at how fast everything would change. The early 20th century transformed the city completely. The automobile shifted from an experimental invention into a mass-market product, and Detroit became its birthplace. Henry Ford didn't simply improve transportation, he revolutionized labor itself. The assembly line increased efficiency, cut costs, and reshaped how factories operated worldwide. Cars became affordable, demand exploded, and Detroit stood at the center of it all. What followed was unprecedented growth. General Motors, Chrysler, Ford, and hundreds of suppliers formed an industrial network, unlike anything seen before. Jobs were everywhere, wages were strong. A factory job in Detroit could support an entire family, buy a house, and provide long-term security. For millions of Americans, Detroit wasn't just a city, it was a promise. People arrived from everywhere. European immigrants, African Americans escaping racial violence and poverty in the South during the Great Migration, and workers from across the country all came for the same reason: opportunity. Neighborhoods expanded rapidly. Churches, schools, music halls, and local businesses flourished. Detroit didn't just grow, it exploded. By 1950, nearly 1.85 million people lived there. It was wealthy, powerful, and confident. That confidence became dangerous. Detroit's identity became inseparable from the automobile. Its economy, tax base, political power, and social structure all depended on a single industry continuing to thrive. As long as cars sold, the city prospered. And for decades, it seemed like that prosperity would never end. But dominance created stagnation. American automakers faced little serious competition, and innovation slowed. Vehicles grew larger, less efficient, and increasingly disconnected from changing consumer needs. Then the world caught up. Foreign manufacturers entered the market with smaller, cheaper, and more fuel-efficient cars. Japanese and European brands focused on quality and reliability, areas where Detroit had grown careless. Instead of adapting quickly, the industry resisted change. Management doubled down on old models and outdated practices. The gap widened, and consumer trust began to erode. At the same time, deep social fractures were forming inside the city. Racial segregation wasn't accidental. It was engineered through housing policies, redlining, and discriminatory lending. Entire communities were locked out of economic mobility, even as the city around them appeared prosperous. Wealth concentrated in some areas while others were neglected. Tension built quietly for years. In 1967, it exploded. One of the most violent riots in American history tore through Detroit. Dozens were killed. Thousands of buildings were damaged or destroyed. The physical damage was severe, but the psychological damage was worse. Trust between residents, businesses, and institutions collapsed. For many middle-class families and corporations, this moment confirmed their fears. They left. Suburbanization accelerated rapidly. Those with resources moved out, taking jobs, investments, and tax revenue with them. Highways made escape easy, while the city itself was left with a shrinking population and a growing financial burden. Detroit still had to maintain infrastructure built for nearly 2 million people, but fewer and fewer remained to pay for it. As factories began relocating, first to the suburbs, then to the southern United States, and eventually overseas, unemployment skyrocketed. Automation reduced the need for labor. Globalization rewarded cheaper production elsewhere. Entire plants closed. Generations who had built their lives around factory work were suddenly left with nothing. The consequences spread fast. Less employment meant lower tax income. Lower tax income meant cuts to public services. Schools declined. Emergency response times increased. Public spaces deteriorated. As conditions worsened, even more residents fled. Blocks emptied. Houses were abandoned. Fires became common. Nature began reclaiming neighborhoods. Detroit wasn't destroyed by a single event. It hollowed out slowly, year after year. By the time the 2008 financial crisis hit, Detroit was already fragile. The collapse of the auto industry during the recession pushed the city past its limit. Revenue vanished. Debts mounted. In 2013, Detroit filed for bankruptcy, the largest municipal bankruptcy in U.S. history. It wasn't just a financial failure, it was symbolic. A city that once defined American industrial power could no longer sustain itself. Detroit became a warning about over-reliance on one industry, about confusing growth with permanence, about ignoring social inequality until it becomes impossible to contain, about delaying adaptation until change becomes collapse. Yet Detroit did not disappear. In recent years, parts of the city have begun to recover. Downtown has seen investment. Old buildings have been repurposed. Artists, entrepreneurs, and small communities have reclaimed abandoned spaces. The population is smaller now. The city quieter, but also more honest about what it is and what it cannot be again. Detroit will never return to its peak, and it shouldn't try to. Its future depends on diversification, inclusion, and flexibility, lessons learned at a devastating cost. Detroit was once a machine that powered a nation. Then it became proof that even the strongest machines fail if they stop evolving. Its ruins are not just empty spaces. They are records of decisions, of causes and consequences, of choices made and choices postponed. And that is why Detroit still matters.